let's talk for a moment about sort of cleaning cluttered houses and cluttered hearts. Um, there's a way of getting the clutter in the house cleaned up, and when you're done, all the hearts of the people involved are all cluttered up.
Yes.
um, how do you discipline for attitude, or how do you guard against making the mistake of thinking the house is the end and the children are the means, as
Hmm.
opposed to thinking the children are the end and the house is the means?
Right. Well, something that I was recently talking to my husband about is why are there sort of, seems like there are different, obviously there's always different ditches to fall in, but there's how a lot of people would talk very resentfully about someone like Martha Stewart. Not
Right.
her specifically, but about that
Right.
kind of ideal. Like that just makes them angry. Even the discussion of it is like horrible.
A magazine full of togetherness.
Right. And then obviously there's the other side of it. But one of the things that we were talking about is how if a mother is consumed with her own identity, if she's doing all these things kind of to build up her own self, if it's like, I want the house clean because of how that makes me look, or I'm making cookies because I want to be that mom who makes the cookies and outshines all the other women at the playgroup, and I'm doing it for this, then children are like born with a hypocrisy sensor. They
Right.
just know, like they know this is not about me. Like,
Right.
and that it hurts them, it makes them angry. It's like it just is and so the actual thing you're doing might be fine. Like
Right.
making cookies, I'm all in favor of. But if you're making them about yourself and then trying to force them down everybody else's throats because I'm so good at this, it doesn't feed your children. But if you're making them because you want your children to be the kind of people who grew up
Loved.
eating cookies and having this kind of a like I want my children to have lived in a home that is ordered and pleasant to be in, and and if you're doing it that direction, I think it will feed your children. It will,
So you make cookies because you want your children to grow up as cookie eaters,
yes, and I
instead
want
of
them to
growing up in
be
a
the
house.
kind of people who came from a home where that's the way the kitchen was.
Instead of being in a house with a cookie maker.
Yes, exactly. Like,
Right.
and it's not, mom's not doing this about herself. It's focused out, and I think it is a really important difference because the actual activities are all the same. Like when I pursue different domestic crafts or things that I want to be doing, like say decorating the house for Christmas. If I'm doing that about me, then nobody enjoys it, and if you're doing it about other people, then it's the time of our lives.
And on top of that, so that's a way of forgetting yourself, losing yourself, dying to self. But the Christian faith teaches what you do, when you die that way, it's given back to you. So if you want kids to grow up in a household full of feasting and laughter and cookies, and you do it for that reason, not to be a cookie maker,
Gives you a lot of joy also.
and it turns
Yeah.
back around. The fact is, you are a cookie maker, but that's not what it was after.
But that's exactly. And I think I had, yes, one of the things that we were talking about with this is that if you imagine a fictional character somewhere in a movie or in a book who's just a really fun, solid, great individual, they always come from a family that eats together. Always. Like it's like someone who finds their way back to a family Christmas because they kind of get it. They kind of get caught up with a family who actually still eats together and still
Right.
love each other. Like that's still something that is a real. It's like a cultural iconic thing to have a family who's actually in fellowship and eating together. But that's what I was saying is I want our children to come from a home that eats good food and that enjoys it. But I don't want me to be a gourmet cook regardless of what else happens,
Right, right.
if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
one time, not all that long ago, I had some interaction with some unbelieving women who were into some artistic pursuits. And it was just totally shocking because the way they were all saying, "Oh, you're such an artist," and it was everybody giving each other compliments and identifying themselves as I am an artisan, but they're all mothers. but it's not about their families. It's about my identity. I am so artistic and I am so creative. And they were at an event with a bunch of women from our church. They kept telling everyone, like, you are so artistic. You're such an artist. And all these women were just like, no, I'm not. Like, it was just, but I realized then, it really stood out to me that all of these women that I knew had beautiful homes. Like, they were very artistic, and none of them identified themselves that way.
As an artist. I'm just
Like,
being a mom.
It was like, nah, like, that's not what I do. Like, this is not, and I thought it really was a powerful thing, because to these women who their entire goal was to be artists, and they were feeling very threatened by this group of housewives.
Right.
Like, who were all like, yeah, I'm not an artist. I don't do that kind of stuff. I'm just making, whatever they were doing things. It was a pottery painting thing. So a lot of the women were making things like, oh, I thought I'd make my kid a funny cereal bowl, or, and this is not about me right now. I'm doing this for someone else.